Welcome to The Beam, where curiosity meets conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. I'm Sunes Nathaniel, and today we'll be looking at how to reposition Nigeria through timely implementation of laws. Recently, we saw the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, arrest and arraign Bobrisky and Cubana chief priest for Naira abuse. And one begins to wonder, where was the law before now? And why does it seem like the people do not respect the law until there is a scapegoat made of someone? What can the timely implementation of an enforcement of law do for a nation like Nigeria? These are some of the questions that we're going to be answering on the program today. And joining me remotely to do justice to this issue inherent, this matter that we're discussing is Barrister Chukwuemeka Ezeala. He is a lawyer versed in good governance and election matters, a social commentator who has managed several civil societies. Barrister Ezeala, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me.
All right, thank you very much. All right, now we're going to go...
It's Chukwuma, not Chukwuemeka.
Chukwuma. All right, Chukwuma. All right, thank you very much for that correction. A quick one, let's get into it. What are the key obstacles, if we're going to ask you? I mean, looking at what we're talking about, I mean, we just saw the Naira abuse thing. It's been there for a while, and then the question becomes, why does it seem like it is just now that the EFCC and perhaps those who are in authority are beginning to enforce such a law, or make sure that the implementation of such a law starts to take its due course? What do you think about it? I mean, let's open with that.
No, I think everything is all about system failure. It's system failure. In Nigeria, the system has failed and is living abysmally below expectation. We shouldn't be talking about this. I recall when this thing was getting very bad and Professor Chukwuma Soludo was the CBN governor. The next thing was that the laws were made. There had been laws before then, but they intended at that time to say they want to enforce it and that people should stop spraying money, people should stop. I mean, Nigeria spent so much money to advertise, to educate people on how we should keep the Naira. Now, what has happened? Nobody was interested in enforcing such law. Worst case scenario is that the people we call our leaders, whether you call them governors, whether you call them commissioners, whether you call them ministers, they go and do the same. Unfortunately also, so even some of our staff who are working in the banks, who are working with the Central Bank of Nigeria, some of them are still involved in this. So it became a mental problem. In fact, I think I'll call it more of a mental problem, hanging on all of us. To the extent that if you don't do it, you become a social deviant in a way. People see you as somebody who, I don't know, but it has become norm in the society. I am happy that the EFCC has taken it up, but the truth is it supposed to be the EFCC work? Why won't the police do? Because the police is everywhere. They're in every village. Once the IG gives the instruction and say, we know our police system is at the lowest ebb. We all know that. But if there's an instruction from the IG, the police are looking for how to make their own private money. They will go after all these people. It's not for EFCC, really. EFCC, we have serious problems. And the EFCC is heavily understaffed to get into this. So I think if we really want to get into it, tell the police, tell the civil defense, and they will be everywhere. People are doing burial, where people are conducting, but this is not really our problem at this stage. Look at what we are talking about in Kogi State. Look at all our governors, our ministers, our commissioners, So it is just stealing galore. That is where they are now.
I'm glad you have brought that in, because we're going to come into the immunity clause very soon. But before that, I was going to ask you, what do you think are the key obstacles that are hindering the timely implementation of laws and the enforcement thereof, basically? What do you think are those things that are hindering it, per se?
No, but it goes back to what I said. The first statement I made is that it is system failure. System failure by the operators of the system. And who are these operators? The key persons are the police and other law enforcement agencies. To the extent that even when judiciary have made order, the security agencies will not carry it out. Sometimes when the IG has made order, the police themselves will not carry it out. So it's a question of looking at how do we, if our presidents will look at how best to get the IG responsible for whatever is happening in the system. Get the various heads of security agencies, the DSS, we have many security outfits. So, and then get them also accountable to the law, not necessarily loyal to the president, but loyal to the laws of the land. Until we become sensitive to being loyal to the laws of the land, we will go nowhere. In every other climate, go to United States, go to UK, they are accountable to the law, not necessarily to the president or to the governor or to the minister or to the IGP, but to the law. And the courts will start working. I think this is, once you have a president who says, look, IG, look, all the heads of agencies, let everybody obey the law. And if anything happens, for instance, just in a remote place, such as Suleja, I'm going to hold you IG responsible. I'm going to hold you DSS director responsible. I'm going to hold you EFCC chairman responsible. And somebody becomes, if you want to make a scapegoat, he's not making a scapegoat of Naira Marley or Bobrisky or no, these are not people. The person you should make scapegoat is the heads of these agencies who ought to devise a system to get the people, the responsible people to enforce the law. That's all you need to do. Once 2 IGs leave office because of this, once chairman of EFCC leaves office, everything will start working. Not just allowing the president to give instruction, but obeying the law. That's it.
All right. You kind of poked the beehive when we talked a little about what was going in Kogi. So I want to go there a bit. We saw something of like an immunity clause play out when we saw the sitting governor. While the EFCC says the sitting governor came to take the man in question out of where he was initially, right? So the question is there a possibility of doing away with immunity clause? What are the possibilities?
To start with, it wasn't immunity clause that made the governor to be able to do what he was alleged to have done. Because the governor will have immunity, What of the policemen he came with? What of other people he came with? Do they have immunity? These are just the issues. So if, for instance, people around him knows that they will immediately be arrested for their conduct, because that's why I said all of us being accountable to the law. If somebody who has immunity asks you to do something that is wrong, and you go and do it, the immunity will not extend to you.
True.
The immunity will stop at the government or at the governor. There are how many people that have immunity in Nigeria? Just 36 plus 1 or plus 2. 36, okay, plus the deputies. You have less than 100 persons that have immunity in Nigeria. Let these 100 people continue until their immunity lapses. But let the next person they ask, most times they don't, if they steal now, they don't steal with their money, with their hands. They don't carry all this money. Somebody carries it for them. Why don't you go after that person? When they steal and the money enters my account, why won't you come after me? Do I have immunity? These things are just people not understanding what the issues are. So at the time the governor of Kogi State came, he came with some policemen. He came with some people who, rather than obey the law, they tended to obey the governor. And if they had been taken care of at that time or within that period, tomorrow, when a governor with immunity asks you to do something, you will not do it.
Definitely.
So it's very simple. Obedience to the law. That's the only thing that keeps any society.
Now let's get to that obedience of the law. How do people pledge allegiance rather to the law rather than the personality? How do Nigerians begin to know that their duty is to the law rather to individuals who are big in the society, or individuals who probably give them change just to survive? How do we get that allegiance? How do we say, oh, my duty is to Nigeria? How do we get to that stage?
No, we can only get to that stage, like I said, starts with number 1. Let the president say, I want to do this. Let the president hold the people that act for him. You know, let the president ask questions. Let the president say, IG. I remember that time when Anene was a sovereign. And IBB called the IG then and say, where is Anene? I mean, it was a comic relief. It was just a joke. But then, this is a type of thing. When police misbehaves somewhere down in Calabar, the president will hear it. Once the IG is punished, every other IG will take. So, like I said, it's a question of the leader taking up the mantle of leadership and deciding, I am going to be fair, I'm going to govern according to the law, and whoever is around me must govern according to the law. So, and once you do that, you will see whether it's bribery issue, all the things will immediately start going down. And once you have this money back into the treasury, the economy will rebound. And then we won't be getting into this dollar going into $1 billion, dollar going into 1,000, 2,000. Those things will no longer. It's just a question of stealing. It's just the stealing that is just driving the dollar. People will say, what economic policy is that? Go and check wherever you don't have corruption, heavy corruption. Their currency doesn't nosedive the way ours is doing. So everybody that is looking at what do you do to stop our currency or what do you do to reduce poverty, it is simply directly proportional to the heavy corruption you have in and around government. That is just it. If they say no, tell me a country that doesn't have much corruption, whose currency is misbehaving the way ours is misbehaving. Countries that do not obey the rule of law. This is, we are number one. When you check it out, I mean, we may not be rated the way we are.
All right, let me pick your mind a little as an astute, learned fellow that you are. Looking at the case we were talking about earlier on, you know, the Naira abuse case, there are many young people, especially because most of our audience are very young people when it comes to this program, and they're saying, hey, why does this look like a witch hunt? You know, why does it look like a witch hunt? Why does it feel like they're trying to just single out somebody? They're also looking at the fact that, oh, there were two persons initially who were picked in this case. You have Bobrisky on one hand, and you have the Cubana chief priest, and somehow it seemed like the Cubana chief priest is not in the net, but Bobrisky is still there. And then the question becomes, what's happening? Many people don't understand, you know, what's going on. You want to help us clarify what might have played out there?
Anyway, whatever the security agencies are doing, you will find out that once they do it, the next thing now, everything goes back to normalcy. And remember that EFCC will not be everywhere. The point I'm making is the right people who should do this should be the police. Let the police go into action if we are really serious. Let somebody be accountable within the police force. Let the IG call on the CPs to designate people to do this. It's a very simple thing. Once we decide, once you make one announcement and say these cars are this, you see them all there. Let them go. Once they seize this money one, twice, and it's over, it's a question of mentality issue. So for us to go and use so much money to go to Naira Marley or go to Bobrisky or go to any of those people and then say you're driving the process, yes, it will have a little effect. But I was somewhere yesterday also. I still found out that some of those things, they happened. EFCC cannot be everywhere. Go to your village today. EFCC is not there. So if you still rely on EFCC to stop this, you're wasting your time. You need to use the normal police. You need to call people accountable. You need to go to where these politicians are organizing events because it happens there. So once you go, if for instance, the minister loses his job, not even being tried, but loses his job because people were spraying money where he's organizing an event, then we know we're serious.
All right.
But when you if you say governor is spraying money, yes, he has immunity. Somebody may have been carrying the money for him. The person doesn't have immunity. Somebody that is matching on that money while dancing, the person doesn't have immunity. When you talk about mutilation of currency, it's not just the person that is spraying it. Somebody that is matching on it is also part of it. Somebody that is collecting it anyhow. People that are around there are also around the crime scene. So
it's almost like they're all accomplices to the crime.
Yes, of course, they are all like, if you see people committing crime and you can't stop them, you leave the crime scene.
You have been involved in so many civil societies, like you've been there. The question then becomes, how can civil societies, you know, and private sector? How can these non-state actors contribute to advancing the agenda of the implementation of laws in Nigeria? How have they done enough? I think we should ask ourselves, have they been doing well? Have they done enough? What more needs to be done? I think that's where the question will be. Go ahead, sir. You can unmute your mic. Go ahead, sir. We can hear you now.
Yes, okay, sorry. So when you ask, have they done enough, you will also look at, has the system allowed the civil society and other stakeholders to do their work that they are supposed to do? Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we still have foreign funders, external funders assisting the civil society. These external funders, if you go to other in Europe and America, its government assists these CSOs because they are the conscience of the people. They have tried, but the problem is that I think I will send this back to the populace. I'll send it back to Nigerians because we have consistently, and many people have consistently voted for the wrong candidates. We have not allowed our votes to speak for ourselves. Because what does it mean? It's a question of, we hire you as a governor. You're not doing well. We remove you. The civil society has always been there, not as vibrant as it used to be. Yes, I agree. But we also know some of the limitations of the civil society group. The limitations becomes that, originally from in the 80s, in the 90s, when the military were there, they had a lot of funders that provide for the logistics. But today, they do not have those logistics. So you have few of them that are in the system now. And there is muzzling of this civil society group. The Nigerian space is not allowing them. The judiciary not necessarily allowing them. So you see, it's very difficult to walk in the terrain we have in Nigeria. So I think, and that is why we need good governance. And that is why we've been talking about good governance all along. And good governance can never come without good election system. And good elections sometimes may not come around without people owning the process themselves. So this is what many of us have been saying. Let Nigerians own this process. Let us have people who are non-partisan to take care of INEC, So these are, all of them are all, they are all chain, is a chain. They are all interrelated to each other. So you can't say civil society whether they are doing what they are doing their best within resources available to them, not as much as one would have expected, because the system is also not allowing them. The people with cash are people that are benefiting from the system. The people that would have assisted them today are people that are benefiting from the system. So where do you go from there?
Wow. Okay, where do we go from there? I was going to ask you, now I want to put you on the spot. If you were to make quick implementations, if you were to make quick adjustments as to help Nigeria and Nigerians begin to operate, fully to the maximum, under the law, what are the steps? What are the things you think you would do?
My first step will be to grant independence to the police. This is the #1 law enforcement agency. Grant them full independence, whether in funding, whether in terms of funding, in terms of taking decisions, and encourage them to go back. And then fund them. Fund the police so that all these things they do will stop. You can't be paying somebody 50,000, 60,000 under the current economy, and you and I know that you just get into a bar to eat. The 50,000 is gone. So you can't pay these people this amount of money and allow them. So that's #1. The second aspect will become the judiciary. You put money into the judiciary, have more of them, get more competent people to be within the judiciary space, to occupy the positions in the judiciary. With these two alone can solve 40 to 50% of our problems, just the police and the judiciary. And allowing the police to work the way they should. All along we're talking about state police. Is it the problem? Yes, it may be a little bit of the problem, but it is not the problem. If you talk about insecurity everywhere, and people say it's state police that will curb insecurity, oh, please, I'm sorry to say, state police is not what is going to curb insecurity. It is good governance. That's #1 to curb insecurity, because good governance will bring better system, will bring more money into the system. We'll bring people to work. We'll create jobs. It's good governance that can create jobs. And when it creates jobs, you won't have more people getting into the other side of society, becoming deviants. You won't have more. So by the time you take care of the ones that are already deviants that do not want to repent, you move on. So that's why Nigerians must make up their mind. All of us, you and I, the media, all of us must make up our mind and decide to say, look, we want good governance. Whoever we vote, and we should be able to check who we are voting, check the background of who we are voting, check the consistency of who we are voting. Not when we go and collect 1 million naira, 2 million naira, as if it will never finish. Or when the person thinks that you think he will, if he employs you, he won't employ all the people in your village. And if he doesn't employ the people in your village, people are still very hungry in your village, and it continues. So let us make up our mind as Nigerians and get into good governance. Let us pressurize the president. Let us pressurize the government to allow the police and the judiciary and other security agencies to work.
All right.
To work according to the law, not according to their wishes.
Okay. Okay. Again, I want to just go back a little bit into the police force. You know, what are some of the things, if you can give us one or two things that you think needs to instantly change when it comes to the way the police is operating as we speak right now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think it's breaking, and I think it's.
Let me take that again. Quick one. I was asking you basically,
okay,
looking again at the police force as it operates now, because you have already said, hey, you know, policing when it comes to those regional policing and all that won't work, you know. So what would you say you need to change right now when it comes to the police system? Like, what needs to change instantly?
No, instantly. The truth about it, there are two things. The IGP, many people know him as somebody who is very competent and who can actually work. All you need to do is for the president to call IGP and say, work according to the law. And I hold you responsible if you're not going to do that. And then the IGP will now call his CPs and various agencies and say, the president has given us marching order. It's just a marching order. And then pumping more money, even if it means tripling the money you give to the police so that you get the loyalty of the police to the law, not loyalty to you. Emphasize on this, that it has to be. So the truth about it is, everything boils down to the table of the president. You know, so there is nothing anybody can do about it. The IG is very competent. Most of the people he's working with are very competent. But the problem is that the politicians are not allowing them to work. How do you explain where we said we're under-policed, and then most of the police officers have been attached to various politicians? How do you explain it? You know, so we are heavily under-policed as a result of this. And those that are not attached to political office holders are doing illegal jobs here and there, looking for who to check whether they have particulars or not. You know, if you travel from here now, if you leave Nigeria, just semi-border, go to Porto Novo or go to Cotonou, you won't see police on the road trying to, but you see them quietly somewhere. They wouldn't be there looking for who to check whether he has a driver's license or, you know. You don't need those things. Those things are supposed to be taken care of. We are in the period of internet. If your vehicle particulars is expired, the system will find you out.
All right.
If your driver's license is expired, the system will find you. So police has no business being on the road to ask you for your particulars. But because they are being underpaid, they are there to make money. And we all know. So why don't the president decide to take the bull by the horn and decide to say, police, at least let's start with you. Beyond the police, the civil servants, we have the money.
All right. Thank you, Barrister Chukwuma. I know you. I wish I had taken you on that part of the police very earlier on. Thank you very much for weighing in on this matter. That's the much we can take, and we hope to invite you very soon. You know, you'll come back, and then we can go deeper into, especially these angles where you're really passionate about expressing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. That concludes our discussion today. But as always, the conversation continues in the various social media platforms that we have. And we'll be looking out to see what you think about all that we have shared and discussed today. I'm Sunes Nathaniel. And until the next episode of the program, I thought to remind us all that the Nigeria that we need to restore to its full glory, we must first begin to commit to turning legislative intentions into tangible actions. Bye for now. See you later.